Hello. Good afternoon. Hi. Hello. Hi. It's Michael Urie. I'm here on the Signature Theater's Instagram Live, and I'm having lunch with you. And we're going to invite Michael Benjamin Washington, the wonderful actor, and I'm going to interview him a little bit. You might remember me if you're a Signature Theater fan. About 10 years ago, I was in the revival of Angels in America. Um, I played Pryor. I replaced Christian Borle, and that was directed by Michael Greif, the amazing Michael Greif, and it was a dream come true to do that play. And you know Michael Benjamin Washington because he was just in the sensational production of Fires in the Mirror. And I know Michael Benjamin Washington from high school, which we'll tell you all about. Let me see if I can get him. So, is he? There he is. Here he comes. Stand by. Here comes Michael Benjamin Washington.
Hello.
Oh, there he is. Hey,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Just a casual conversation in front of a bunch of strangers.
Right? As we would do normally.
So the wonderful people at the Signature have set this up for us to have a little chat, and people are tuning in and watching and sending us little hearts. I don't know if you can see these hearts and these.
I can.
Yeah, it's very sweet. Um, and I just told them a little bit about how we came together today, and how I was in Angels in America for the Signature a while ago, and you were just in Fires in the Mirror. And I told them that we went to high school together. So I filled you in.
Yes. I'm officially caught up.
You're caught up, and we can. I thought we would start by talking about Fires in the Mirror because that was very recent, and it's sort of back in the news because you keep getting nominated for things. As if my count is correct, you've been nominated for basically every award you could be nominated for. And most recently, Outer Critics honored. They decided to do away with like a winner, and they basically awarded all five the award. Is that right?
Yeah. There are 5 honorees, up to 6 in the acting categories, and then 5 in, I think, design. And so it's really nice to not have it be a competition. It's just like more of a, because I already have, Survivors Guild, because we got to open our shows in the fall, and all of our friends that were waiting in the wings, literally, for audiences that were coming 2 weeks after the lockdown. It's a weird, bittersweet, I feel the love, but at the same time, it's just like I keep trying to push it back out. The closing of the Frozen yesterday, it's just a weird time.
That was so sad and so unexpected. I didn't think that was going to happen. I mean, I knew that there was going to be more closings that came down the pike, but I didn't think Disney, like a behemoth like that would. It's very scary.
It is scary. It is scary. But it's been beautiful being able to celebrate what did happen in a truncated season with everybody, and remembering how vital the theater is and how vital what Signature Space is doing with this and trying to keep people engaged. And
oh my gosh, Lynn Nottage just joined.
What?
How exciting.
Oh, don't make me break into a monologue from Sweat or anything to hell. Because I've had time to rehearse.
It's so funny. You just see these things pop up. There she is. Okay. So I came to like your first preview, I think, because I was doing a play, and I figured out that the only time I could, and I was not going to miss this, and I didn't tell you I was there.
No, you didn't.
Because I didn't, because I don't think it's fair to go to first previews. There, I said it, but I had to. It was the only time I could go, and I cannot believe it was your first preview because it was flawless. Do you remember that night? Do you remember what like that night was like what it was like going on stage?
Like it was yesterday. It was, first of all, it's like being shot out at Canon anytime you try to say, I'm going to follow Anna Devere Smith in anything she's done. Like even if I tried to like post a monologue from the West Wing, it would be like, Michael, really? Let alone her Seismic and 13th Baby. That woman wrote 12 plays and got completely ignored until Fires in the Mirror was produced as her 13th play.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, when she was 40. So as I'm now in the 40s, turning 40 and got that role, it felt like such a great handoff. But leading up to that, I mean, it's 3 weeks to learn, memorize, get notes, dialect sessions with Donna Lynn Frazier, who I have an appointment with at 3 o'clock for something else that I'm working on. And it's like these beautiful connections kept happening, but it came so fast. And then the audience was there, and then the critics were there, and then we were open, and then it got extended, and I was sick through most of the run because your body just kind of gives up on you when you're doing that. But that first night, when I saw you, when I came out of the stage door, and my friend Matt Gould and some other very close people came to it, I was so happy you were there. Normally I'd be like, wait, come opening.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where either you know it when that first audience is there, or you don't really ever learn it more.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, like you can always say it's just a preview, but it's not just a preview. They paid. The people paid. Like it's a show. You have to give it your all. But like to go out alone. I mean, I remember the first night I did the one-man play Buyer and Seller. Actually the first like 6 weeks of that run, I was terrified. And to this day, when I go into the dressing room at the Rattlestick where we first did it, I get PTSD. Because I was so terrified going out alone and having the the entire thing on your shoulders. And you played how many characters in Fires in the Mirror?
28. 28 characters. But I remember seeing you in Buyer and Seller when I saw it in Los Angeles at the Mark Taper Forum. And I was like, how do you do it at that energy level for an hour and a half? At least mine had some hills and valleys, and I could like lay back and be a Jewish woman with a scarf and rest my voice a little bit and then pop back in. Like,
interesting. That's interesting because I would look at what you did. That's interesting because, well, for I would say Buyer and Seller was like a ride, and like once it started, and it was like, you know, and I did it for such a long time that like there were nights when I wanted to just, you know, curl up and die rather than go on stage. But once it's, you know, the hardest part was starting it.
Absolutely.
And once it started, it was just like, you know, but for the first, I had cheat sheets hidden on the set. I had like little like a scene list hidden on the upstage of the proscenium. Did you have anything like that the first night?
No, I know, because it's pitch black on a pitch black stage made of black carpet with black pylons and looking for black yarmulkes in the dark. It was like, you could write your mother's thank you notes on there too, but it's just like, I can't see it. You got to go. It was actually weird because I think 3 days before we started previews, maybe we were into previews, I don't remember time, but Anna DeVere Smith wanted to rearrange the second act. And so we moved monologues around, and then we had to retech it like in a day or two and get back out there. And I was like, okay, what I've been waiting for. It's like, now you're an actor. Like, let's see what you're really made of. And that's when I wish I had a cheat sheet. But speaking of cheat sheets, you did Buyer and Seller in your living room again, which we all saw and loved.
Yeah.
What was the difference between doing it in your living room with Ryan Spahn as your cameraman and being, say, at the Mark Taper Forum or the Rattlesnake?
Well, wow. I mean, first of all, it was very quiet because Ryan couldn't laugh because, you know, it would have been picked up on the mic, and he doesn't find me funny. Yeah. So he doesn't laugh anyway. But like, you know, like the taper. Well, you know, this is interesting actually, because like we did it at the Rattlestick, we did it at the Barrow Street, and then I did it at a bunch of other places. And the taper was towards the end of the tour, and every theater I did it in was proscenium, like where you did Fires in the Mirror. It was like, you know, all the audience was over there and I was over here. And I played characters that would speak to each other, you know, like Barbara Streisand would speak to Alex Moore. If you don't know what the play is about, that was really confusing. But but I would play multiple characters in the same scene sometimes, and so it was well, I used. We'll get to this, but I used skills that we learned in high school to do this. But I thought it has to be seen from the front, and the Mark Taper Forum, of course, is a sort of thrust theater. Yeah. And so I was really nervous about going there, but it turned out to be the absolute best place to do it because it's so intimate. Even though it's like 700 seats, it's so intimate, and you really feel like they're all right there. I'm going like this, but you feel like it's like a cone, and they're right there. It's not unlike the Vivian Beaumont at Lincoln Center, where it really it's like everyone's kind of hovering over the stage. And because so much of the play is direct address, it really was like, I was able to really take everyone in. And so then to do it in my living room, where like, instead of talking to 700 people who are all over there, I'm talking to one person who's, well, thousands of people, but like I'm aiming at one little spot. It was at once, like disarming, but then also so simple, because I knew anytime there was an aside or like something that was a direct address, I would just go right to the same spot every time. And we used our phones. We also had 2 cameras, but we used the backside of the phone. So I couldn't see myself, which was good. And so the camera, as you know, on the back of an iPhone, the camera's pretty big. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to like pop back to that spot. But then what we did, we realized Paul Wontorek at Broadway.com, who was the like sort of like who's been doing so many things, but he was kind of the TV director, as it were, of the night. He was like, we can do two cameras. So Ryan and I figured out where we could put the other camera. So like we could have 2 angles, like the news or like a sitcom. And so Ryan and I figured out where the other angle would go. And then Nick Corey, who helped me stage and direct this sort of different chamber version from Stephen Brackett, the original directors. Mm. Nick Corey was like, I think that this is where we would cut to the close-up, and this is where you would want to make it more intimate. And so then we rehearsed a lot, and we figured it all out. But thankfully, I'd done it so many times, I knew where a laugh might be, mm-hmm. and I was able to kind of take a breath to imagine, like, instead of a group of hundreds of people laughing, like maybe 1 or 3 people laughing, and so I was really able to imagine them, even though they weren't there. But like when it was over, we turned off the cameras. It was really quiet in our apartment, and I said, Ryan, did anyone watch? And then our phones were on Do Not Disturb so that they wouldn't blow up. And we took our phones off Do Not Disturb, and then they started blowing up from messages from all kinds. And the first message I got was from Jerry Zaks, and I was like, Jerry Zaks watched?
Of course he did.
And I was like, well, if he liked it, then
Would you have something with Patti LuPone?
I did Douglas Carter Bean play called Shows for Days with Jerry. And you did La Cage with Jerry.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Taught me so much. The only reason I have a TV career in comedy is because of that man. Like, he broke it down.
If they laugh, don't move.
Amongst many.
That's my favorite. His thing is, if they laugh, don't move, and they'll keep laughing, and it's true. They do. It's so let's talk a little bit since it came up. I want to jump back now to the year 1996, which is when I first met you. Actually, let me jump back a little further first to 1994, when I first saw you as Judd in Oklahoma.
Oh, we're going back.
Which was incredible. That was it was like, I mean, I still think about that production as one of like the great high school musicals I ever saw, because I don't remember who played. I don't remember that guy that like with the amazing voice played Alex Curly.
Capolo. Yep.
What's his name?
Alex Capolo.
So good.
Yeah.
And whoever played Laurie was great. It had a beautiful voice. And Brian Sutcliffe was the funny guy, right? Yeah. Ali Hackham. And then you were Judd, and it was you were devastating. It was so, and you closed the first act, right?
Yeah.
With that big song.
The floor creaks. Yeah. I tried like I was an opera star. It was great in the 10th grade too. Like my voice hadn't fully formed yet. I'm like,
in a cafetorium.
Yep.
But it was so good. I remember thinking, my God, they're these, because we were at, it's very long and boring, but where we're from in Plano, there's high school is 9th and 10th grade, and then senior high school is 11th and 12th grade. So we were at different high schools, and then we came together in 11th. My 11th grade was his 12th grade, and that's when we actually met and were in school together. But I was at the other high school coming to see your show, and I was like, our production of Fiddler on the Roof is not as good as their production of Oklahoma.
And then we got to do productions together. We did Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Yes.
We did 6 Degrees of Separation. We did what else?
Waiting for Lefty.
Waiting for Lefty.
So this is what I want to talk to. What I want because this is something like you were the one who kind of taught me what ambition was. In like when because so I saw you in that musical, and then I knew that you were like super successful in speech and debate. And when we were in the same school, you were like the speech and debate king. You had already won nationals in HI, right? Doing in humorous interpretation, doing Color Museum, right? George C. Wolfe.
Very good memory. Yeah.
You had just won that. So when we met, you had just won that big thing, and I was really like fresh, and I was still figuring it all out. But you were like winning. You won everything, and everyone. So you were like you were like a hero, and we all looked up to you from our team. You were such an amazing leader, and you were class president, not just like president of like the drama club or president of the speech club. You were president of the 1,500 seniors that were at this school. Yeah. So like you were already like a mogul, and then like our senior high school, this school that we went to for years, they did a big musical in the fall, and then they did a competition 1-act play in the spring, and this year for the first time in as I recall many years, they added a show, Waiting for Lefty. Yeah. Before the big musical, or after, or something before, like that. Yeah. It was before. That was because of you, right?
Well, what happened was...
What
had happened was, we have a big UIL 1-act play competition in the spring. So that's like our spring play, and that's a contest play. And I had been lobbying for us to do Angels in America. So I cut Angels in America, and I went to the principal. I'm like, Dr. Dean, we've got to do this play, Angels in America. He's like, well, Michael, I don't know. Remind you, this is 97, the year Ellen came out of the closet. So just remember where we were culturally with homosexuality and themes.
And we're in the suburbs of Texas.
Plano, Texas, yes. Bible Belt, right next door.
Right.
And he was like, Michael, I went to the school board, and they're not going to allow us to do it. And I was ready to throw a fit. And he's like, but we're going to do a compromise. I'm like, what's that? He's like, we're going to let you do 6 Degrees of Separation instead. I'm like, ooh, the black hustler that dupes all the rich white people. I like that better. And we did it, and we won state, and we had a lot of success. And then the next year you went, you took a year, right? And then you came to Juilliard. And then
I took a year at a community college, yeah. And then got it to Juilliard, yeah.
And then came to Juilliard, and I saw everything you did there, except for one thing. I don't remember what that one thing was, but I saw everything you did there. You got the John Houseman, and then you just blew, pardon my language, fuck up. It was like, oh, here he goes. But you were the quiet guy in high school, and this is important. Thank you for blowing up my resume that I haven't heard in 20 years that nobody cared about except my mother. You were the quiet, shy one who I knew. And I have video, and I've located some that I might post on Instagram stories. The quiet one in the corner who never caused any problems, but knew all your lines. And it's like, watch this one. He's going to be the quiet sneak attack. But also, when we were growing up, Lee Pace was the god of speech and debate too. Yeah. There were Josh Gad came and talked to me in DI that year. It was like there were kids who were fighting
in DI.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so you won. So his junior year he won HI nationals, and his senior year, which is humorous, and his senior year he won DI, which is drama. Yeah, I didn't know Josh was a drama. I thought he was comedy.
No, he did Harvey, and he was so great. He got second, and I'm like, that kid is going to be a beast. So we just grew up doing speech and debate, which was all about reading plays and finding out what your take on it is and your point of view. And if you had 10 minutes to play all the characters or do it as a monologue or whatever, what is your interpretation of this material? Which, Michael, I swear, it still serves us every single day.
100%.
I can read a script in an hour, know exactly what I'm supposed to do, what the function is, and like have my bag of tricks if I need those or explore new ones. Right. So all the kids out there in black suits going to speech and debate tournaments, you could be like Michael Urie one day.
Or Michael Benjamin Washington.
Or a mixture of both. Yeah. What was, but
I mean, obviously, like you were ambitious, and you were you were a mover and a shaker in high school. You were president you were student body president. You you lobbied the principal. You played Joseph in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. You were the star of the musical. We did that extra play, Waiting for Lefty, because there were 3 roles for you to play, and we built remember we built a theater in the Round.
Yeah,
And
we
did it like on the stage. It was so cool what we were doing. And that was like, you kind of like came in and revitalized the program. And then on top of that, on top of all the speech tournaments, on being the star of all the plays, you produced and starred in Stephen Dietz's play Lonely Planet in the lecture hall.
For World AIDS Day, yeah.
For World AIDS Day. So like you were also like you were like an advocate and philanthropic, and like did you know that was all like, was that just did that just come naturally to you? Or
I knew that I needed to get to New York, and if I wanted to make it in the theater, I had to become more ambitious and not so sweet and wait for everything to happen. I mean, you were one of the few people who probably knew then that I was gay. You know, we had talks. But to come to that as a Black boy in the suburbs, where I'm class president of 1,500 kids, 30 of which were African American, and I was class president for 7 years.
You say 30? 30?
Yeah, there were 30 Black kids in my class out of 15.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. So I knew that I needed to be bold and be brave and to break down my own fear barriers before I got into New York City. And then when I did my first year at NYU, I mean, my class was filled with Laura Benanti, you know, Matthew Morrison. There were kids who had been singing and dancing who were going to have a life. Kristen Bell was the year below us. Nikki M. James was the year below me. I mean, these kids, I knew when I got there and had been that ambitious, I was still behind. So then college became this catch-up of learning how to sing and dance. And this is your body, and this is how you function in the world.
Right.
And I got my first job my junior year, and it was like, okay, you can calm down a little bit.
And that was the Sondheim play?
Yeah,
Saturday night at Second Stage.
Yes, directed by Kathleen Marshall.
And you were still at NYU.
Yeah, I was a junior, and I skipped class because my agent, I just signed Charles Botner, sent me out on my first appointment, and I booked it, and I had a breakdown. I'm like, my parents are going to kill me. So I just didn't tell anybody that I got the job, and just went to rehearsal and then went to class afterwards. And then the first preview, a row of my professors from NYU were 5th row. And I was like, of course they're probably going to see the unproduced Sondheim show. But they were cool about it. They didn't kick me out. So.
Wow. What did the other students say? Were they jealous?
I don't know. I don't think I was paying attention. At that point, I was like, you've got to just tunnel focus.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is a crazy story. And then you finished.
Finished.
Yeah. You finished.
I did graduate, yeah.
But did you find that you had a leg up? Because I found this at Juilliard. I found that I knew more plays than anyone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that was partially because of speech and debate, but also because we had that great, I mean, it was mostly because of speech and debate, but we also had that great theater program. But like, you know, let's talk a little bit about Angels, Angels in America and 6 Degrees of Separation, but also Love, Valor, Compassion and Torch Song. These plays, I feel like I learned from you when we were in school. I feel like you said, come here, young man, and read this play to me, or like watch this movie, Love, Valor, Compassion, and like I don't like. Of course I would have found them eventually, but whenever I think about my first time reading those, specifically those 4 plays, also As Is and Normal Heart, but like those 4 plays like were like like. I remember curling up in the office of our speech and debate club and reading, you know, and like reading those plays and being like, what is this? And I mean, especially Torch Song, I remember reading and being like, I'm an Ed. Yeah. You know, long before I was going to play Arnold and reading.
Or Angels, because what I remember is coming to your final performance, the final performance, and I marathoned Angels at Signature on Easter. And I watched you do that beautiful part that we had done in high school and read scenes with. When you got into Juilliard, I'd come over to your place and sometimes we whip it out and just start reading scenes from it. Belize and Friar Angel, whichever one it was.
Lewis and Belize or yeah.
And I knew that was your great dream role. So when Signature gave it to you, I was like, everything is right in the world. And then I saw the performance and I thought it was fantastic. Bill Heck proposed to his wife at the time at the end of that performance. Yeah. Like, what a night this is, and what a piece of theater this is.
Yeah.
Was it everything you wanted it to be when you got to play it 8 times a week?
100%. And it was, those marathon days where it was, like 8 hours of play or whatever, 7.5 hours of play. And I was skinny. I was super skinny. I got super skinny to play the role. Yep. And I was never tired. There was something about that play. I never got tired. It was like fuel doing that play. And Tony's brilliant. All of his plays are so well. I'm thinking about Bright Room Called Day. There's all the roles are great, and you have breaks, except for Nikki James in Bright Room Called Day. She was on the whole time. But everybody else, you have breaks, and that's what's so brilliant about Angels America is you get to you get breaks. You get to go off and breathe, and it's one of those plays where every scene is so strong and so good, and there's every scene's like its own little play, and you'll do a scene and think, oh, I could have done better, but you have 4 more chances. 4 more scenes to get it right. When you do a one-man play, you go out there, or when you're the central character of a play, you sort of just ride the ride, and some things are going to work and some things aren't. But when you come and go, you really have time to think, and that's what I remember most about doing Angels in America was I can visualize myself backstage, or there was a lot of revolving sets, and so sometimes you have to plant yourself a scene before, and I can just remember being in the play when I wasn't on stage, and how beautiful that was. But all of these plays. So I want to segue into Boys in the Band a little bit, because you and I've gotten to do a lot of these plays that we grew up on, like Angels and Torch Song and Boys in the Band. And we even read a scene for Terrence McNally's birthday last year from Love Valor together, which was really special. But I want to talk about these Canon plays and how they've been given these really lovely revivals in the last few years. Normal Heart too. Can you tell a little bit can you talk to me a little bit about what doing Boys in the Band was like with an entirely out cast and director, and such a titan like Ryan Murphy behind it?
Right. I had no idea about I knew of Boys in the Band, but I never read it. When we were in high school, I didn't find it on the shelf. I didn't peruse it. I didn't know there was a black character in it.
I don't remember it from high school either. That wasn't one that came across.
No, it wasn't in the library. That might have been on purpose. I don't know. But everybody was so open-minded that I just don't know if it had reached its, it hadn't come back into its life. But when I got it, we did a workshop of it 3 summers ago. Then we did it on Broadway the summer after that. Then it won the Tony last summer. We did the film version, and now we're waiting for it to come out. So it's been 4 years, and I feel like I went through high school again.
Wow!
Coming into that with that room and those gentlemen who were so open and so giving and so understanding that this role I was playing wasn't on the page. So I'm gonna have to make up a lot of the energetic field around it and to become a part of the group. So that was what Joe Mantello and I really got to work on. We went to LA and rehearsed it for 2 weeks while Mr. Parsons was finishing filming his show. Then we flew back and opened it immediately on Broadway. And it all happened so fast, but it was so easy. It just all felt very easy, and the reception was fantastic. I think to have this slot of gay plays written by queer art authors, almost in a mainstay on Broadway. Before it'd be you might have one, and in years there's not one. Then there is one. To have it be consistent, and a consistent presence that young queer activists, audience members, straight audience members and allies can come and hear these stories every single year, I think it's become what is the most valuable thing about the community. We're not just telling one-offs. We're trying to make a lane for it.
Right. They're opening the possibilities for the new ones like The Inheritance and Enslaved Play. You know, these plays that are kind of like the new guard of great queer theater. That can be mainstream. That can be like a Broadway can be Broadway fare. Harvey always said that when the original Torch Song played, the audience was mostly straight, and you know, like that's so fascinating because that play ran for years. To straight people. I mean, and you know, I've also heard people, you know, gay men of a certain age say, "Oh no, we were there, we just weren't out," which is really interesting too, and fascinating. But returning to these plays, I mean, what's amazing about, you know, what like Torch Song and Angels and Boys in the Band is like you look at these plays and you see very quickly how far we've come. I mean, Torch Song's all really about marriage and fatherhood. It was a pre-AIDS play, and Boys in the Band was you know, about community and all of that. So like you see how far we've come in so many ways, but they also like shine this light on where we still are.
And it's so important too, depending on the production and the director, what themes are going to be really expounded on in the production. So like in Boys in the Band, it was very important for Joe Mantello and Ryan Murphy, who found the material to be so much about addiction and the downfall of addiction and what happens when you use, what person do you become? So as much as it was about gay friends being mean to some people, it's also, if you get drunk and your past walks into the room, who do you switch to become?
Wow.
Jay Gatsby can be whoever he was at a big party as long as that's the facade. But if he gets wasted and somebody, I don't know the story well, but if somebody came in from his past, Jay Gatsby might have a different party. You know what I mean?
That's fascinating. Because the play, that production of Boys in the Band felt so fresh. There was nothing dusty about it at all. It felt like it had just been written, and that these characters were walking in off of our streets. So that's fascinating. That to hear that comes from, you know, this battle with addiction that is 100% still, you know, prevalent. I mean, especially in quarantine. Wow, that's so. So then putting it on film, they kept the same cast, which is beautiful. Ryan and Joe directed the movie, and you all got to go and film it on a stage. I assume they built the apartment on a stage. And was there like a re-rehearsal, or did you just like start playing?
No, we went out 2 weeks. So we had 2 weeks of rehearsal on our feet on the new set, and to do camera tests and wardrobe tests, and to do all of that, and then begin to do some exterior shots that go with it. But yeah, we were in a room together for 29 days, and we shot it chronologically. So that's really rare. So it just made perfect sense. I mean, I remember getting to. The play takes place in 2 parts. It's a party, and then it becomes a tragedy. And I remember getting up to the first part and being like, okay, it's about to turn. Everything's energetically going to shift. And then got a call to come back to New York for Fires in the Mirror so that everybody could meet me. So I flew myself in on a Sunday. They had a special session. I flew myself back out on Sunday. And then Monday morning, we filmed my phone call scene. And that's where we were in the process of shooting it. And I remember thinking, when it rains, it pours, and you're going to have to multitask. But this is, I mean, like I watch Matt Bomer and Zach Quinto and Parsons with these schedules and being on a plane and doing that and learning this. I mean, the fact that Jim Parsons was learning Hollywood while we were doing Boys in the Band and he never shut up in that, I'm like, how does your mind...
Whoa, they shot at the same time? They shot back to back?
They shot Hollywood on the same stage that Boys in the Band was, so they all knew that they were about to shoot that next. So it was like, we're doing this, and then you go into that, and it's like, that's something I love. The stamina involved to run like you guys. Like, you had to learn buyer and seller in how many days again, and I don't remember you flubbing a line. So either your mind is ambitious like that, and you learn to program it, or you know,
or it's trial by fire.
exactly.
I mean, I know when I was learning buyer and seller, I learned it by failing. It was so many mistakes. It was like that's how it got into my brain and my body, was by screwing it up.
Yeah.
Did you rehearse fires in the mirror like a monologue at a time, or like a character at a time?
I asked Saheem if we could do 6 characters at a time. That way, at the end of a week, we would have covered all 28 of them. If we did 6 a day, and then just trying to find the arc of those 6, and then add the next 6, and then we do a run through of the first act only, then a run through the second act. And he was really great because he never made me do the final monologue. That's what I did in my audition when I flew in. And he's like, "That's great. We're not going to touch it. I see that you have that." And that was probably the greatest gift, because that one just devastated me. So we didn't ever rehearse it until, it was time for Paige Evans or somebody from Signature to come in and see a run through. And they were like, "Can I see it, please?"
Right.
But it was incredibly...
That's so smart to rehearse like that.
It was easier for me, because if I tried to do the whole thing, it just becomes a wash.
Right.
Yeah. So we only rehearsed like 2 hours a day. I had an hour and a half or 2 hours of voice and vocal coaching every day. And then, it went so fast, Michael. It went so fast.
Do you take a lot of breaks? I found I had to take, sometimes I would just lay on the ground. I'd say I need to just lay on the ground for a little while.
Oh yeah. And when my body started to shut down, it was like, oof, this is tricky.
Yeah.
But Saheem was great about that.
Saheem did a beautiful job. That was a beautiful production, and moved so elegantly, and the scenery was... Who did the set? Do you remember who did the set offhand? It was such a beautiful set.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I put you on the spot. That wasn't fair. Somebody great. So, okay, should we answer some questions?
Yes, let's do.
Okay, so what I can do is I can pop them up like this, and I'll pick, let's see. Oh, I love this. This is, what play would you guys want to do together?
Ooh.
There is a play that we talked about one time that doesn't actually exist. That I don't know if you remember this, but it was if there were to be a musical version of Blazing Saddles.
Was it Blazing Saddles?
I thought so.
We talked about Trading Places.
Oh, Trading Places. That's what I meant. Trading Places.
Yes.
Not Blazing Saddles. I feel like there is a musical of Blazing Saddles, so that's something that
they were talking about that. Yeah.
But, talking about Lonely Planet, you and I were on the phone about something else yesterday, and we started talking about Lonely Planet, and I was remembering that production that you did in the lecture hall at our high school. That would be a fun play to do together, too.
That would be. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. All right, let's see what else. Can you tell us about your transition from TV stage TV? Yeah, this is always interesting. I'm curious to hear how it is for you when you go back and forth, because you go back and forth a lot.
Yeah, it's been nice recently. And the great answer is that it's not different. It is a size shift, but it's not a mechanism shift in my head. It's like I do the same homework, I do everything. I just learn where the camera is, so it can be a little smaller or a little bit bigger. Or if it's in an off-Broadway house, just getting past the footlights is always the trick. Can they hear you without the hearing aids? That's what I always try to do, because so many of our audience members are elderly. And the ones who during Fires in the Mirror, you see like all these little red dots in the audience. And then when they just start to take them out, and because they can hear you, was like the greatest.
Oh, wow. And you saw that?
Oh, yeah, because I'm staring at them all night. And it's just like you can see the red dots just like slowly come out because they can hear you. So that's the biggest difference.
Okay, here, the wonderful Arnolfo Maldonado designed the set for Fires in the Mirror. Thank you. Oh, that's Natasha, who's from the Signature. Okay, I got a question that came from, what stage roles are they both eager to play that they haven't had an opportunity to perform in yet? That's from Paige Evans, our artistic director. So we should be very careful about how we answer this in case she wants to make it happen.
Well, Paige already knows all my dreams. We've had a meeting about that. I'm like, here's my dream list. She's like, okay, got it.
I'm going to jump in and say, you and I played Perry and Arthur for that Terrence McNally birthday party thingy, and I would love, that would be fun. That would be fun.
a role originated by John Benjamin Hickey at Bellow playing on Wildcat.
That's
So,
right. That's
yeah,
right. So John Benjamin Hickey was the original Arthur
yeah,
and also went to our same high school.
yeah. And then went to Juilliard, where you went to
And then
college.
went to Juilliard. And Stephen Spinella was the original Perry
Mhm.
and the original Pryor.
Uh-huh.
That would be fun.
That would be a lot of fun. I
That would
like
be
these answers. Just keep answering for us because I think we have the same dream.
I want to hear off IG Live what you talked to her about though for
Oh yeah, yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
you. But the signatures, so, I mean, you know, this isn't just because we're on their Instagram, but I just have always loved what the signature's about and the way that they nurture, playwrights and really like commit to playwrights.
Yeah.
And
I
I
mean, I
think,
write as well. And so my meeting with Paige was more about like, what do you write? And what are the stories that you're trying to put into the world? And, you know, is there a way that the theater could support that even long term? And the thing is, their queue of playwrights that they have, I mean, you've got Lynn Nottage and Anna DeVere. You've got the best and the best chilling out to Tori Hall, who, you know, came to see one of the performances of Fire in the Mirror, and I was just like shaking. It's like, I want to just hug her.
yeah,
Just because of her consistency. Talk about ambition. But yeah, so the great thing about Signature is how they support artists in that residency program, but then there's so many productions.
I know.
Young Man from Atlanta this year, which was fantastic.
Oh, was it great?
It was so good.
I missed that one.
It was so good. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been going for years, so.
I was thinking, you know, I've been thinking about the signature this week a lot because of this, and I keep thinking about that lobby and how much I miss that lobby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like a country club in Midtown for the real artists. It's like you just pass through and you see all the greats on the wall and the greats sitting at the table having meetings about stuff.
I know. That was such a beautiful, I mean, I miss Jim so much, and you know, like that was such an incredible contribution to New York, giving us that space.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question that came through that asked if we'd ever done a play together since high school, and the answer is no to that. But we did work together last year in the Pride Plays Festival, which I was a co-producer of. We did Michael's incredible play about Bayard Rustin, Blueprints to Freedom, which I saw first at La Jolla, and we kind of did a little bit of a remount for Pride Plays, and that was just amazing. And I'm sure you mentioned it to Paige. And
oh yeah, and it's been the only reading of that play in New York, and it's been an uphill battle for 7 years getting people, and all the reasons I've heard. Some of them I understand, some of them are devastating. You know, will our audiences really understand a professional black man? And I was like, what does that mean? What does that even mean? And it's like, I understand a lot of stuff, but that one, so the Pride play saying, hey, we made this space for you, and this black male American hero that nobody knows about, come and do it. It was beautifully produced in a wonderful, 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 wonderful way to introduce that story to New York. So thank you for that.
And a great cast. Ron Canada played.
A. Philip Randolph.
Gosh, he was great.
He was great.
And what was the guy who played Martin Luther King?
Ro Body.
Fabulous.
He's incredible. Incredible artist.
Yeah.
So good, so talented.
And Moises Kaufman was the helm for that one. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions here. There was a question about Zoom theater or online theater. Somebody said I love the techniques you use in Buyer and Seller and Frankie and Will. Oh, thanks. That's nice. Multiple device. So Frankie and Will was this thing that Talene Monahan wrote that MCC put up. It was a short play that is about William Shakespeare and his apprentice in quarantine in 1606, which is when he supposedly wrote King Lear, which is, you know, at the beginning of this quarantine, everyone was like, Shakespeare wrote King Lear in quarantine, so you can go write the next great play, you know, which was so annoying. But Talene got this great idea of Shakespeare quarantine with an apprentice and wrote it with me and Ryan, my partner, in mind, because we're quarantined together. and we could do it together. So we basically shot it in our apartment using 2 phones, and we're able to cut between close up and wide shot, which we sort of did on buyer and seller too. And like obviously it's not quite the same as theater because we're not in the room together, and that is like the basis of theater. But there are so many things about doing these live online plays that feel like theater because they are done live. I mean, you can watch them again. They live online for a few days, so you can watch them again later. Like Frankie and Will's still available on MCC's YouTube, I think. But like, for example, we were using AirPods so we could hear like sound cues and stuff. And we only have one pair between us. So I had one and Ryan had the other. And like literally a minute before we started, mine went out. And I was like, well, show must go on. And it was theater. It was suddenly like real theater. And so I just had to follow Ryan whenever the sound cues would happen. So that was pretty exciting. But I've seen some pretty, I don't know if you've watched anything else. I thought that the new Apple Family play that the public did that was created for Zoom was beautiful and so well done. And last night I watched Bill Irwin and Chris Fitzgerald did something that Bill wrote for Zoom.
Really?
Called In Zoom. That's incredible. It's very brief, but it's so. I mean, those two are such geniuses. And
Chris Fitzgerald, I don't think has had his moment yet. He was in Saturday Night and was like a big brother to me, like in my first show ever, and the most talented guy in New York City.
Oh, I was in a funny thing happened on the way to the Forum with him.
Right,
his wife Jess Stone directed it, and he played Pseudolus. Absolutely brilliant. He's a total genius, and they did it really amazing. I mean, Bill is a hero of mine. And actually he had a season at the Signature, and that's when I first started to really see his stuff many years ago. But they did this amazing Zoom play that was written for Zoom, takes place on Zoom, and they built in like internet problems. So they would be talking and they would just freeze in their like crazy putty faces.
Amazing.
It's really good. Have you seen any other Zoom plays that?
I haven't seen any Zoom plays, but I've been going to a lot of cabarets and benefits and trying to like drop 25 or 50 where I can just to keep. Because I know, especially with Frozen closing yesterday, how many actors are going to need that fund. Yeah. So I'm just trying to like bounce around and donate where I can. It was a really good year last year for me. And after 4 years of like, I'm living with my parents, then suddenly things happen and it's like, I just want to keep giving back as much as I can because this is terrifying times. But do you think that Zoom has a future with the theater, or do you think as soon as we're able to get back in a room, this goes by the wayside?
You know what's interesting is like, there's so many things like I feel like in a lot of ways we're not going to want to be on Zoom anymore because we can be together, and why would we be on Zoom if we can be together? But like and like you're in Midtown, I'm in Midtown. We would rather have this conversation together.
Sure.
And like the Signature's in Midtown, like this in the lobby at the Signature would be ideal.
Sure.
Certainly more ideal. But like. I'm also done Zooms with people that are across the country. And, I did a play reading earlier this week with an actor that was in California and an actor that was in upstate New York. And it seemed like they were in the same room together. And, like that's pretty awesome. That's a really exciting, that's what's possible. And so I feel like there are things that we will retain from Zoom when we can't be together that we will, but
how does this affect the Pride plays this year? Because isn't that normally June, Pride Month? When you do it?
So yesterday, Playbell.com is going to host Pride plays this year, and it'll all be online. And we just announced yesterday the partnership, and it's going to be more specifics will come out next week about what plays we're going to do. But we're going to do workshops of new plays, and then we're going to do 4 sort of like presentations. Like in Zoom live. and then a musical on the last Sunday in June, sort of kind of like what Broadway.com did with the Sondheim thing. We're going to do something highlighting queer musicals, or queer characters in musicals, or queer songs from like La Cage to Lempicka, all these and everything in between. So that's gonna be cool. It's a lot of work, but it's really exciting, and like, it's nice that people can keep working. Obviously, like the goal is to everything we develop. The goal is to like eventually put it on the stage, but work can be done, and it does feel like you were in a room together, and I do feel like I've been spending time with my friend Michael. So
absolutely,
thank God for all this technology.
Well, let me just take this quick moment, because if we're going back 20 plus years, when I sit in this moment and I look at you and everything you do for the theater, whether it's hosting the Drama Desk Awards brilliantly or putting up another show that you don't stop. I mean, you're the only fool I know that enjoys doing Hamlet. Like, I'm going to go do Hamlet for fun. It's like, Chin, I am between Tamada. Again, you constantly work and you don't rest on your laurels. And I do believe you are the classical actor of our generation.
Oh, thank you.
Because you're practicing it. So
thank you. Well, I mean, you've been my heroes for almost 25 years, and I learned so much of my ambition from you. So thank you. Thank you for saying that, and thank you. I'm getting all these messages that we have to wrap up, even though I could keep going. But thank you so much. I love you.
I love you too, White. Thank you for having me.
I miss you. I miss you, Black. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Signature. I'll see you soon. Talk to you later. Thank you, Michael. Bye.
Thank you, Michael. Bye.